So welcome everyone to our virtual education program. My name is Marco Redden and I'm the Project and Resource Coordinator at the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on sacred land that has been the site of human activity since time immemorial. We're in Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. We are all treaty people. So we're using this Zoom platform to stay connected with you. Please feel free to ask questions anytime during the presentation using the private and confidential chat box and just address it to me, Marco Redden, host. If you don't see it, just use your mouse to hover near the bottom and there should be a chat in the middle. You can click on that and it should pop up for you. Just remember to press enter and send those messages to us. Questions will only be seen by AS&S, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. Our audience today includes people living with dementia, people caring for someone with dementia, and people who just want to learn more. A reminder that our session today is being recorded, so your microphones and cameras have been turned off, so your faces and voices won't be part of our recording. So to get into it, today's presentation is Finding Your Calm During the Holidays. We'll have a 20 to 30 minute presentation followed by about 20 minutes of Q&A. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Beth House. Beth is Coordinator of Education, Support, and Outreach in the Central Zone for the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. Beth is a therapeutic recreation professional with a background specializing in geriatric populations, and she has a passion for person-centered care. When Beth is not working, she's busy in her garden, maybe not today, but or with her husband, 2 kids, and her dog, Rory.
Thank you, Marco. I'm so glad to be able to do this today because holidays can be not calm for a lot of us. So happy holidays. Comfort, joy, magic, family, food, friends. Each of these words comes to mind when we think about the holiday season. Perhaps it's a favorite memory or tradition, or it's a time to reflect quietly. For many of us, the holidays are a very special time of year. For those of us on the dementia journey, whether we're living with the disease or as a partner in care, the holidays can be a bit more challenging. Changes in routine, the inability for extended family to visit, unfamiliar situations, that can all create extra anxiety in a person living with dementia and added stress for the care partners. There are many different celebrations that happen at this time of year: Christmas, solstice, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and many more. And the content of this presentation could apply for large family, faith, and community gatherings to celebrate anything at any time of year. The holidays are busy enough without us adding additional challenges for yourself or your person with dementia. Sometimes less is more for a person who has challenges with communication, sensory limits, decreased memory, and even confusion. The holidays and gatherings are often filled with opportunities for togetherness, sharing, laughter, and memories. But they can also bring stress, disappointment, and sadness. A person living with dementia may feel a special sense of loss during the holidays because of the changes that they have experienced. At the same time, care partners may feel overwhelmed maintaining traditions while providing care. There are many things we can do to make the holidays a little less stressful and overwhelming, both for people with dementia and partners in care. In the early stages, a person living with dementia may experience some minor changes. Some may withdraw and be less comfortable socializing, while others may relish the chance to see family and friends just as they did before. The key is to check in with each other and discuss your options. A simple, how are you doing? How are you coping with everything? May be appreciated. Together, focus on the things that bring happiness and letting go of the activities that seem overwhelming or stressful. Planning early, simplifying events, and setting realistic expectations can go a long way to reduce stress and helping to ensure a warm, enjoyable holiday season. So you can discuss ahead of time as a family what the holidays will look like and try to plan to keep things as close to a regular routine as possible. It would be helpful to have a list of doctor's offices and pharmacies, anything else special that are open over the holidays in case of emergencies. And if the person living with dementia or yourselves takes a medication, ensure that they have enough to last over the holiday period, and maybe even a few extra days if we get some snow. Shopping early for gifts tends to help with stress for all of us. And trying to avoid the hectic atmosphere of last minute shopping. Some stores may still have special times for shoppers sensitive to their surroundings or for seniors. You could even call ahead and ask if they have quieter times. Don't be afraid to ask for help with the shopping or cooking from a friend, another family member, or a neighbor. You can use online shopping or curbside pickup, not only for your groceries, but also for presents and other necessities. As the disease progresses into the middle and later stages, review your holiday plans to ensure that they're still a good fit. Everyone is unique, and finding a plan that works can involve trial and error. Not going forward here. There we go. So to keep things simple, so to help reduce stress, you may want to consider simplifying your festivities. What can you let go of or minimize in a way so that it still sparks joy, but without the added stress? Can you identify the essentials and eliminate the rest? By simplifying or cutting things that require a lot of work, maybe even some long-held traditions, you are actively reducing your stress level. And by shortening or not doing some of these things, you can gain additional time to focus on creating more joyful interactions and memories. Keeping it simple and familiar. So someone with dementia may feel overwhelmed over the holiday season, so it's best not to overdo it. Keeping the day's activities low key will help your person to relax. Sticking to a familiar routine is a good idea where possible. Having meals at regular times in familiar surroundings can help to limit any potential confusion. Adjusting our expectations is a big one. Maybe call for a face-to-face meeting or arrange for a group discussion over the telephone, video chat, or through email for family and friends to discuss the holiday celebrations. Make sure that everyone understands that your caregiving situation, what it really is, and that they have realistic expectations about what you can or cannot do. No one should expect you to maintain every holiday tradition or event. Don't forget to be kind to yourselves as a person living with dementia or as a partner in care. Give yourself permission to do only what you can reasonably manage. If you've always invited 15 to 20 people into your home, consider maybe inviting 5 for a simpler meal or spreading out the invitations. Consider planning smaller gatherings the weeks leading up to the holidays. Less people and less noise can reduce feelings of being overwhelmed for the person living with dementia, for the care partner, and especially in the later stages of dementia. Allow yourself to accept the changes that have come with the disease. And if you're planning to bring your person who's now living in long-term care home for a period of time, be prepared that they may get overwhelmed with the change in environment, all the new decorations, and they may want to leave after 15 minutes. Prepare for post-holiday letdown. Arrange some time for both of you to rest and recharge. Enjoy a quiet day with a movie to reduce that post-holiday stress and fatigue. As a partner in care, maybe you want to arrange a lunch or a coffee with a friend if you find that helpful to unwind. Maybe think about having a potluck dinner and asking someone to order or bring in dinner, or asking someone else to host. You could try to choose familiar locations, and if possible, finding a quiet area where the person living with dementia can retreat if needed. You could ask someone to keep them company if that's suitable. If the space or the home that you're in is large enough, perhaps there's a quieter room or space where the person living with dementia can visit with small groups apart from the larger gathering which may be overwhelmingly full of holiday cheer. You could consider celebrating over lunch or brunch rather than an evening meal. The person with dementia may feel less tired and restless earlier in the day. You could even consider an afternoon nap, even if it's out of routine for both you and the person living with dementia, in the event that the event should be later on in the evening. Be mindful of food. So often food is a huge part of our celebrations. And though many of us eat a lot during the holidays, a full plate can be daunting for someone who does have some difficulties eating. If you're doing the serving, be mindful of your person's preferences and try not to overload your person's plate. Decorations. A lot of us love to go all out with the holiday decorations. For someone living with dementia, this can serve as a helpful reminder of the season, or it can be disorienting when things aren't in their usual place, their surroundings are less familiar, or there are lots of flashing lights. And this is more so at the later stages of the disease. You could consider simplifying the decorations. This can lessen the overstimulation and the disorientation for the person living with dementia, and it can lessen the workload for the care partners. You could think about putting decorations up gradually over a few days so that it doesn't come as a big change to the person's usual settings. I heard that CBC recently had a piece about holiday feng shui and talked about clearing out the clutter before decorating so that things don't get too crowded. And one of the other staff members here at the Alzheimer's Society puts one thing away for every Christmas holiday piece that she brings out. If it's been 2 years since your family, your friends have last visited, or there have been significant changes for the person living with dementia, familiarizing others with your situation, what to expect, any requests or tips that you might have can be a big help. You could say things like, Dad gets overwhelmed with large gatherings, and we've decided to have several smaller gatherings this year. Evenings aren't great for Mom, so we're asking people to plan to visit early afternoons. Asking people to call. Grandma does best when there aren't a lot of conversations happening at once. Let's all do our best to stay in the same conversation. George needs some time to share in the conversation. So let's try to slow down and give him some space to reply before we carry on. And just as simple, with your help and support, we can create a holiday memory that we'll all treasure. When a person is living with dementia, the changes to their brain will impact the person's abilities over time. But there are opportunities to engage the person living with dementia using the abilities, the skills, the interests they still have. There are many ways to involve people living with dementia during the holiday seasons, from something as simple as hanging an ornament on the tree to doing a little holiday shopping, or maybe it's simply asking, do you think Jane would prefer a red scarf or a blue scarf? The important thing is that they feel included. Involve the person living with dementia in the holiday preparation activities that he or she enjoys and that suits the skills and abilities. Could they help assembling the Kwanzaa display? How could the person be involved in reflecting on the principle of the day, honoring ancestors, or sharing talents? You could ask them to help you prepare traditional food like latkes, or sharing their recipe for kugel, wrapping packages, helping to decorate, set the table. You could keep in mind some safety tips that you may want to avoid using candies, artificial fruits, and vegetables as decorations, because the person living with dementia might confuse them with real food. Blinking lights may also be confusing for someone living with dementia. And real candles could be a fire hazard if they're left lit or knocked over. Again, try to maintain the person's normal routine as much as possible so that the holiday preparations don't become disruptive or confusing. And taking on too many tasks can be wearing on both of you. Build on your traditions and memories. Your family member may find comfort in going caroling just as you always have, but you might also want to experiment with new traditions that might be less stressful or a better fit with your caregiving responsibilities, such as watching seasonal movies or playing the radio. Sending out a lot of cards can be overwhelming. You could consider writing short messages that can be printed out and included in each card, or having the person dictate to you what they'd like to say. Sorting through old cards, if you've kept them, and rereading the messages from the past can be lovely. During the holidays, you can create moments of joy using photos or other images to talk about stories, memories, or the season itself. As an example, you might pull out an old photo book of your mother's and say something like, "Hey mom, look what I just found. Some childhood photos of yours. Is that girl here your friend Ruth, or is it someone else? Was this the year that the cat knocked over the tree?" If you don't have any photos handy, you could use an object or Google an image of a place or a time that they associate with positive memories to help spark that conversation. You could also play a few songs that you know the person likes, or even create a music playlist in advance. Bringing back happy memories, whether it's an old song they used to enjoy or a classic Christmas film, find something fun that you can take part in. Making a family photo album or a memory box could be a nice way to spend time together. So gifts, always a question of what to get people, isn't it? So providing people who may ask with suggestions for useful and enjoyable gifts for the person living with dementia, such as large piece puzzles, travel books with bright pictures of places they enjoy, such as Newfoundland or England. Maybe it's an identification bracelet or a membership in a wandering response service like Medical Alert Safely Home. You could suggest comfortable, easy to remove clothing, favorite music, photo albums of family and friends, favorite treats. And you might want to consider advising people not to give gifts such as dangerous tools, instruments, utensils, challenging board games, complicated electronic equipment, or pets. Depending on the person's abilities and preferences, involving the person in the gift giving is important. For example, someone who once enjoyed baking may also enjoy helping to make the cookies and pack them in the tins and boxes. Or you may want to buy the gift and the person can wrap it. If friends or family members ask you what you'd like for a gift as a care partner, you may want to suggest a gift certificate or something that will help make things easier. Housekeeping, lawn, handyman or laundry services, restaurant gift cards, or even volunteer to visit with the person for an afternoon so that the care partner can have some time off. Communication. So often our gatherings include music and hymns in the background, the TV playing a classic movie or a holiday event, lots of people talking and lots of laughter and noise. Too much noise can be overwhelming for the person living with dementia and make it difficult to focus and can be exhausting. Visual distractions can also impact, such as lights flashing, and it can be disorienting. Things like going through boxes of old decorations and ornaments can serve as a lovely reminder for both of you of holidays past, but also help you figure out what the essentials are that you still want to keep around and have on display, and what you might consider handing down or donating. Be mindful of your person's nonverbal signals as well, that they might be getting overwhelmed or have to go to the bathroom, and keep an eye and watch their reactions to what's going on around them. Have you heard some of your person's stories many times? It can be tiring to hear the same stories over and over, but reminiscing and telling these stories is actually good for the person living with dementia. When they reminisce, it fires up the person's brain cells. And in addition, as the disease progresses, the person will lose their abilities to tell you these stories. However, knowing these stories will provide you with an opportunity to continue to connect with the person as time goes on. Hearing the same stories over and over again really is an opportunity to connect with and learn about the person so that you can continue to share these memories with them, even when they're no longer able to tell them as well. Try gently teasing out new details each time you hear the story. Oh, that pond that you skated on, that was behind a neighbor's house? Oh, which neighbor? Was it a long walk from where your house was? Did other families skate there too? Just asking some more details or to elaborate on a certain point can really go a long way to getting more details and make the story a different story every time. If the person asks you if they've already told you a certain story, you're left with the choices of yes or no. So the first answer may discourage the person from telling you the story again, and the latter may be a lie. So instead of answering with either yes or no, try responding with, "Tell me more about that." Using this phrase is not discouraging, but you're also not needing to lie if you have heard the story more than once. Traveling. So often traveling is a part of the holidays for a lot of people. Are you planning a trip to visit family and friends or just to get away? The changes that are happening in a person living with dementia's brain can trigger emotional reactions as well as limit their thinking and communication. So increasing your awareness as a partner in care and having a plan B can help. Having plans that have built-in flexibility and tolerance of last-minute modifications can make all the difference for success. Getting from here to there can be even more complicated than it used to be. Complex signage, overhead auditory information, the constant movement of people and luggage make comprehension and direction following more difficult and complex. You might try smaller, shorter, simpler, closer, more predictable vacations or breaks that really create a more enjoyable and relaxing experience for all participating. By the mid-stage, things that are new and different can take an enormous amount of effort to cope with day after day after day. And when the person living with dementia is having difficulty getting through a typical day in a familiar setting without lots of direction and guidance, adding on the challenge of a new place, different food, drink, activities, and different routines can start off as a great adventure and then quickly deteriorate into a dangerous and frightening situation due to the stimulation overload. If you are still wanting to take a trip or an outing at this point in the brain change journey, consider some trial runs first with shorter visits or jaunts to gauge how the person does. Experiencing an overnight at a local hotel with a pool and breakfast on site can help you determine whether or not a longer trip does make sense. Simple things like making sure the car keys are secured, a portable alarm for the door so that you would be alerted should the person become wakeful or confused at night and try to leave and head home. There are simple peel and stick battery operated units at local hardware stores. And they can be great to have along when traveling. Bright colored matching outfits can sound a little hokey, but if possible, it does serve multiple purposes. So if the person living with dementia becomes separated from you, it's much easier to describe what they're wearing if you're wearing the same thing. It also makes you be more likely to be noticed by other people. And additionally, hats are much easier to spot in a crowded space and in open areas. Another tip would be to take a picture of the person with your phone at the start of each day. That's an easy way to share what they look like and what they're wearing in case there is an emergency. Identification tags for everyone. So making sure both of you have identification tags that are readily available can help if something were to happen. Care partners are notorious for thinking that only the person with dementia would have an accident or an illness, never considering the importance of having themselves labeled as a care partner with information about their person, as well as who to contact and how if they were incapacitated. You could consider traveling on lighter traffic times and days. Many airlines and railways can provide you with info about less popular less busy flights or routes. Sometimes space and quiet can trump the speed and bargains. Maybe you want to take the train so that you are able to move around a little more than being restricted on a plane. Make use of family restrooms. They're not just for little children. What typically is not problematic at home or in a routine setting can become frustrating and confusing when you're in a busy public restroom that might have, a variety of traditional fixtures, automatic devices, soap dispensers, faucets, toilets, hand drying systems, paper towel dispensers. So many things are automated now that we're not sure which are automated and which aren't, and which just aren't sensing us. So it might be so overwhelming that the person may go in and come right back out, forgetting to do one or more of those vital functions. And if the bathroom has 2 entrances or exits, they may go in the other one, or they may leave the other one, and you're left standing waiting for them outside the one that they didn't go out. It's easier by far to take turns in the family space, or even to share it for added security. And extra clothing. Carrying extra clothing can be very helpful on a whole set from inside to out for both of you. And maybe a container of wipes, extra hand sanitizer, a set of gloves, a couple of large sealed garbage bags. This could make all the difference in the world when stress or distress can surprise your digestive system, and an unexpected outcome results in the need for a rapid and effective response. It's hard enough to manage problematic bodily functions at home, but in a public setting or unfamiliar places, the challenge is that much greater. It can be much better to have a set of clothes you don't use than to not have a set that you need. And finding quiet spaces, that can be a real saving grace as well. So places like airport chapels and prayer spaces, they may provide a quiet place for recharging your batteries and finding a bit of an oasis in the busy flow of people, noise, and action. So overall, be flexible and in the moment, but recognize when you need a break. It's okay to ask for and accept help. Try to be in the moment with the person. If they're focused on past events, try and meet them where they are and not reorient them. Perhaps look through an old photo album together, sing favorite songs. While we might find it difficult to accept that someone may not experience this time of year as they normally would, whether they're a care partner or a person living with dementia, we can still enjoy this season by meeting the person with dementia and the care partners where they are. Maybe mom can't bake the traditional holiday cookies she once could, but she may be able to help package them in the festive tins. Maybe dad can no longer string the lights on the tree by himself, but he might love a drive to look at the lights in the neighborhood houses. Planning ahead, keeping an open mind, and the holidays can be a wonderful time for all of us, people living with dementia, people supporting people living with dementia, their friends, their family. The holidays and any celebration or gathering are about time spent together, in the moment. Focus on what the person with dementia and the care partners still can do. They're still able to do what they still have time to do. So the biggest tip to making the holidays a success is to consider the person first. And the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia is here to help you with further resources or someone to talk to. Our InfoLine staff are happy to talk and can be reached at 1-800-611-6345. And as one of our community partners like to say, Happy Hanu Krishma Kwanzaa. So we do have a few resources that we will send out when we send out the email afterwards with the link. So these are some of the places that I got some of the information for the slideshow. And as well, we have some helpful links to check out. And we'll send those around as well with the recording.
Thank you so much, Beth. That was such a great presentation. I think the holidays can be a wonderful time, as you said, but it can also bring about a lot of challenges. There can be a lot of, pressure to just do so much, especially with this kind of being a little bit of a more open, holiday season than we had last year with COVID lockdown. So lots of challenges, but lots of great tips there. So thank you so much for that. I hope it was helpful to our viewers. We do have some time for questions here, and we had a couple come in. One is, do you have any recommendations of resources to share with family members who might be visiting for the holidays, who haven't really interacted with someone with dementia before, and maybe it's kind of their first time interacting with that person, since they've been diagnosed?
Yeah, because it might have been a long time since they've seen them. And some big changes. So the best place is to ask the people who know them the best, the ones who spend the most time with them, see if they have any tips or tricks or suggestions of what would work. At the Alzheimer's Society, we do have some resources for making visits meaningful. So if you'd like to give us a call or send us an email, we'd be happy to point you towards those resources. But it really is about focusing on the person, taking the time and giving them the space to answer questions, and setting the scene so that everyone can have a happy, calm holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one, what are some fun, you kind of mentioned a little bit about some of these, but what would be some fun holiday activities that might be appropriate for someone living with dementia?
Yeah, so it's really about figuring out what do people enjoy? What do they still enjoy? What was their favorite part of the holiday, and how can we tailor it a little bit or adapt it a little bit so that they still can, based on the skills and the abilities that they still have. So maybe they're they've gotten a little frailer and they're not able to stand and balance as well to hang ornaments on the tree, but maybe they can still tell you where to put them and which ones you should be hanging or hand them to you out of the box. Maybe they're no longer able to bake those cookies all by themselves, but maybe you hand them the ingredients instead of them measuring them out to put them in the bowl. Maybe they can stir a little bit, but maybe it's, instead of using the wooden spoon to stir, we get out the beaters and use that instead, because maybe they're not as strong as they used to be. So it's figuring out what it is they still can do, what they like to do, and where is that match in the middle.
Yeah, my grandmother was a big baker, so we had to figure out a lot of those sorts of adaptations to all of the holiday baking that she used to sort of spearhead in the family.
Yeah, and talking to her about what her favorite recipes were and where did they come from. So holidays can be so often about reminiscing and talking about the past, and that is a skill that a lot of people with dementia still have in abundance. So dredging up all of those memories and figuring out, well, what is your secret recipe for chocolate chip cookies, and talking about those and who used to bake them and who used to steal the batter before, who, my grandmother would make chocolate cake. She always used to say she never got to ice the whole cake because my father would steal a piece before it was even iced. So those are some lovely memories that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here. Do you have any ideas about how to involve people who are living in long-term care in some holiday celebrations?
So long-term care can be a challenge right now. So with different restrictions and things, it's trying to figure out, what does that look like for you and your person? If you are able to get out for a small shopping trip, having an idea of what you're looking for ahead of time can be helpful. And maybe trying a smaller store, like a Giant Tiger instead of a Walmart, or maybe just popping into a pharmacy instead of trying to go to a giant superstore. So making the trip a little more focused, having a good plan and a good list, and trying to stick to it can be helpful. If you aren't able to get out, maybe it is making a list with the person, if they're able to participate in that, and ask them what they would like to get for somebody, offer to get it for them or order it online, have it delivered, bring the wrapping paper to them so that they can help wrap. And maybe it's as simple as asking, knowing that the person likes something, and asking the person with dementia, do you think they'd like a green one, or would they like a silver one? So getting them involved in some of the choice that's as it's appropriate. So that's part of the sort of the decorating. You can bring decorations as appropriate into their room. You might want to talk to the facility staff to see what's appropriate and what's welcome. Lights are probably, you know, welcome, but definitely not candles. You may want to err on the side of softer decorations rather than the ones that are a little sharp or that could injure by accident. And as well, it's figuring out, is it a better option, and are you able to visit with your family member, your person with dementia, around the holidays? Is it better to go to them and have a small dinner in the facility if there is a place? Because it may be too much commotion for your person to come all the way to somebody's house and stay for a longer dinner with more people. So it's figuring out what is best for your person in the moment, and understanding that even the best laid plans may go awry. They may not have had a good day or a good night and they're too tired to come. They may decide, you may think it's a great idea and everybody's really looking forward to it, and they get there and they're ready to leave shortly after they get there. So it's about being flexible. When my mother-in-law was in long-term care, we decided we were going to have Christmas every time we visited. So we would bring one present for her every time we came. And so she would open it and she would think that was marvelous. And then the next time we visited, we brought another small present. And it was a tradition for her to get our children Advent calendars. So the kids would tell her what they got in their Advent calendars. So we celebrated Christmas multiple times. And that worked for us. So it's figuring out what holiday traditions that you can adapt and bring to life, either in a new setting or a different way.
That sounds like such a nice way to sort of, you were adapting it wasn't what you usually did, but you kind of found a way to make it special and make it work for your family in a way that sounds like it was really meaningful. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that was the end of the questions. We do have a lovely compliment here for you, Beth. It's someone said, love the keep it simple approach and so much practical information provided today. So that's fantastic. We do just have a quick poll for folks to answer. I'm just going to launch that. And while people are answering that, Beth, could you tell us about January? What's happening in January with the society?
So January is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we do have quite a few things happening. We have 2 AlzEds coming up. Our first one will be in an afternoon, and it's with the Fountain of Health. So stay tuned for some information on that. And as well, we're going to have another panel presentation like we did last January. That will be at the end of the month, Thursday, the 27th. So stay tuned for invitations to register for those. And we will have the recordings available afterwards. So if you are watching this recording, you will find the recordings to those events in the same place that you found this one. Or you can give us a call at the Alzheimer's Society, and we'd be happy to send you the links, point you in the right direction. So I might actually put up our slides so people know what number to call us at. Let's see. So do you see what I think you should see?
Yep.
Excellent. So yes, you can give us a call at 1-800-611-6345 if you have any questions about anything you heard today. You can also send us an email. We're happy to reply that way as well. We're here Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. So please reach out if you have any questions. And we will be sending out the recording with the links and the references that were mentioned.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for your wonderful presentation today. And a couple people are still answering the poll, so I'll leave that up. But thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a safe and happy holiday season.